What's going on, traders, and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Watchlist. The Weekly Watchlist comes out every Sunday to give you and myself an edge for the week ahead. As always, we'll be doing a technical analysis on 8 or so tickers with some of the most liquid options chains. We have SPY, the Qs, Apple, Netflix, Tesla, Alibaba, Facebook, and NVDA. As always, if you head on into the description and you want to skip around, there are timestamps you can find there. If you'd like to see anything added to this watch list, let me know down in the comments below, or feel free to send me an email. I pointed this out in a prior video, but as always, these videos do get a little bit long. So if you come on over down here in YouTube and click on the settings button, come on over to speed and switch it to 2. You can certainly blast through these videos twice as fast and still retain a lot of the information. Alrighty, so checking out SPY first, just because we want to get an overall feel for how the market's doing. And we had quite an eventful week. We gapped up huge Monday, but then it all fell apart, and we're right back to sort of where we've come to each time, our major support trend line. So we're sitting at that now. However, the candle here, obviously you can see it's a big, full, red-bodied candle. Doesn't look like the selling pressure is quite ready to give yet. I would say Monday, a few things could happen. Obviously, no one knows for sure, but based on the candle structure here, there are a small amount of buyers who are still looking to buy up here at this support trend line, but I'd say it's likely, based on the aggressive selling and the magnitude there, that the selling continues Monday, and we might get a wick down to this 259.85 level based on our prior support here. Now on Monday, if that gives, or throughout the week if that gives, then we will see a major collapse, in my opinion, down to our next support down here at 254.67, and that's from quite a ways back. As you can see down here, that's where that comes from. So if that's probably not going to hold as much significance as, say, this level here. So keep in mind, if this one breaks, the aggressive selling should start. I say should. It doesn't mean it necessarily will, but this is a key support to keep in mind as we go into next week. 259.85. If we do get a bounce off of this lower support trend line here, instead of falling through, and this little tiny baby tail here is showing that yes, indeed, the buyers are starting to show up, then expect us to come up to our next resistance, 270.36, and that's going to sort of coincide as we continue throughout the week with our descending resistance trend line. This is going to play a pretty key role. We sort of got out of it here, but again, we're just right back in it now, so I would expect that one to act as resistance as we head throughout the week if we can break out of it. Next up would be our 50 and 200 moving averages. We are getting a golden cross to the downside, so keep that in mind. It's not a be-all, end-all, but just something to take note of. And then after that, of course, our what's now a triple top, just about here at 281.22. This one didn't quite get up there, but well within the range there. So that's what we have to look forward on SPY. Let's move on to Qs. So the Qs, as we always say, very similar to SPY, just tracking the NASDAQ instead. We have a very similar shape here, and we got rejected up here at our the back test of the support trend line now that we're below it. So the back test got rejected off of the golden cross as well, the 50 and 200, and the price fell back apart, and we're back in this little descending triangle here. So similarly to SPY, we have to hope that this sort of acts as a support down here first at 160. If that one gives, we can go to our next low, which is coming into play at 157.13, and anything after that is going to be, like on SPY, the level that you don't want to see give out. Unless we will, you're playing puts and you want to see aggressive selling, then you want this level of support to give way. But if you want to see the market sort of rebound here, then you want to see both of these sort of hold up. Obviously, it would be nicer to see this one hold up first, so we have a higher set of lows here. But if we do come down here, definitely wanting to see that one hold up. At least for my retirement account, I do. Anyways, if we get a bounce, first we need to break out of this descending resistance trend line. You can see we tried to do it here on Friday. Came up for a little bit, and the price got rejected right at the trend line. So something to keep note of as we head throughout next week. First the trend line, then this resistance price level, which is 167.81. After that, our 50 MA is sloping downwards, and we do need to get through that. That's going to be a key battleground on the way up. And then anything after that is, again, a back test of this ascending support, and so on and so forth. So play this one similarly to SPY. We sort of have a bit of a, let's see if this one, yeah, we have another sort of resistance trend line coming into play. You can see based on these tops here, 1, 2, 3. Again, this should act as a resistance on the way back up, and it's sort of going to coincide with that 50 simple moving average. You can see they're almost sloping at the same pace, but yeah, the 50 will be a little bit lower than it. Keep that in mind as you watch the cues. Alrighty, so getting into our companies, we're starting off with Apple. Apple has been sort of interesting. I thought that we were going to see a bit more strength going up and retesting this gap fill here, but this candle not showing too much. As you can see, there was some selling pressure eventually, and the buyers fought back, but ultimately sellers won out, and the price is now closed below our key support here at 170.26. So what this means is I'm going to have to scrunch up the chart and look for our next support below us. Alrighty, so I scrunched up the chart, and as you could see there, our next supports come at 164.50 just about, and below that at 160.63. Those are based on our two prior little bottoms here. We had a little bottom here and a little bottom here, so we'll add those certainly as support. This one is sort of compromised, but we'll leave it up for now just because it's significant. That's where we got a little bounce from. If we're going to play a breakdown, we want to be short into 164.50-ish and then cover there. A partial, maybe, I don't know if you're swing trading this, take a partial there and see if we can get down to 160.63. Or if you want to play a fake breakdown, you could always sort of buy some calls in this level if you see some sort of reversal signals during the week, and then expect to ride up to our gap fill up here at 185.62. So those are some thoughts and potential plays on Apple. Nothing's really sticking out. Again, similarly to SPY, the structure of this candle does imply that there is more selling to be done. Volume has been pretty steady. That things are seeming to sort of go sideways, not quite as aggressive selling as we saw here, and where the volume was definitely bigger and more volatile. So things to keep in mind on Apple. Alrighty, moving on to Netflix. You can see it's respecting our lines much better than Apple per se. You can see getting rejected the price here from our resistance trend line. This day it sort of back tested it, but it was a red day coming right back down to it. This day definitely getting rejected, anything above it and closing way below. Here we had a gap down, fought right back up to it, and then the next day again getting rejected off of that trend line. So that's a pretty important one. If we are going to make a move in the upwards direction, that's going to be a key break first of all. Anything below our supports are acting here, this dotted line. We want to see if the price continues to fall, which the structure of this candle does suggest Monday the selling won't quite be over. So if the price does fall, we want to see this sort of web of support down here act as a super support where two of our converging price level and trend lines are converging. It'd be nice to see that act as a super support. If that falls though, we do have a gap fill from prior on the chart. If we scroll way back, we have a gap from here to here, and you can see that reflected here on the chart. So if this gap fills, I would like to see a gap fill reversal and a push in the upwards direction off of that. However, if that does not happen, then the price could always fall lower. So that's one thing that you'll have to react to and sort of scroll back for more history for supports there. If we get a bounce in the upwards direction in this upcoming week off of this level, like we said, battling this trend line first, anything after that, I imagine the 50 SMA and this price level here at 311 just about will start to converge, and this will be a key battleground as we move in the upwards direction, if that is to happen, of course. But the space in this pattern is sort of running out, so one way or another the price is going to have to decide soon, and this upcoming week should be just about decision time for Netflix. Good old Tesla. So Tesla, as I had mentioned in our last video, was gearing up to break out of this ascending triangle here. We have a higher support, higher lows here, here, and here, and flat highs, meaning that if this were to give, then there's room for the price to run to the upside, and that's sort of what we had this week, except we were a little bit range bound in between our high here and our previous resistance, which is now support, so that's good to see. But right now, based on Friday's candle, there is quite a bit of sellers sitting up here right around the 380 mark. That does seem to be a thick level of resistance on the chart, so we'll go ahead and draw in a price level there, marking that off as a resistance up here right around 379.40. The price obviously got beaten back down, but I would suspect come Monday and this upcoming week, our level here at 352.16 $3.52 whole dollar, just to play a round number, will act as support, and we will see a bounce in the upwards direction. And then, of course, we'll have to fight back through this resistance. And if we were to see the $400 as the continuation of this bullish pattern here, then we do have a little bit of battling to do to get up to that level. But Tesla does look pretty good right now. A back test of this level and then a continuation in the upwards direction would be nice to see. It would be sort of a textbook play here on the breakout of this triangle. But if it doesn't happen, then it could always break down and we could get back down into some of our supports here. Obviously wanting this ascending support trend line to act as support first, but if that one gives, of course, we have our level down here. 325.50 just about, and anything below that, I would expect the 50 moving average and 200 moving average to play key roles next. This 316.37 comes from this high, these two little double top here. That is a pretty solid support, but the 50 should be surpassing that if the price does get all the way down here over the course of the next couple weeks. So levels to keep in mind on Tesla. Next up, Alibaba. You can see that we've sort of had some crazy gaps here as well. You can see Monday was a gap up and then closed down and sort of followed the market there. But we can adjust some of our trend lines now that we're sort of been breaking out of them a little bit. This one wants to be a little bit more like that. You can see we have a low, and now a new set of lows. So it'd be cool to see this one act as support again and get a little bounce off of it. If that doesn't, also nice to see here. It's sort of coinciding with that 50 SMA. So possible bounce off of that, but you can see rejected promptly off of our descending resistance trend line. So Monday, who knows, possibly a bounce since we are into this support zone. But if it gives, we have quite a ways below us and a choppy chart to base our supports off of here. You could say one is down here at 142.70. You could say one is down here at 140. All these levels are valid, but I'd rather not clutter up the chart. I would play those based on the day and what levels the price is approaching in the immediate present. So anyways, if we get a bounce, our resistances are sort of mapped out for us. Again, we have to clear this hurdle, and then anything after that is this one up here. You can see we broke out of it here, but now that we're below it, I would say it's still relevant based on how it acts as we approach it for another time. If we do get up to this price, we'll determine whether or not it's valid and still structurally intact since this break. But I would say that this is going to act as resistance, and then 165.40 just about will act as resistance, and then of course where we gapped up to, which is 168.85. Let's go ahead and draw in a price level there. That is going to act as some sort of resistance just due to the nature of the candle. So that's what we have on BABA. Having a look here at Facebook now, you can see over the past week we haven't really done too much in an aggressive uptrend or downtrend. We sort of just went sideways. If you haven't noticed, all these stocks sort of follow a similar pattern to SPY. We had the sell and then the buy and then the sell again on Friday. So if you haven't noticed, take notice, and something to pay attention to. Anyways, figuring out this price level here at 139, we did get a bounce off of this 133 after the gap down. That's where it's decided to stop, so we will draw in as support there. But right now it is sort of looking like it's getting rejected again at 139, and the price wants to come down. Something I'm noticing now is we have a bit of a shorter term descending resistance trend line, something like that. It's piercing it a little bit here, but anyways, following it pretty nicely, getting rejected again. So before we can attempt this descending resistance trend line, we first have to see a break of this one, and that's going to come pretty soon. We're either going to see a break of it on Monday or a continued downtrend, and one way or another, we're going to have a support down here to get a small bounce from. If that gives, obviously we have our next one down here, and we can keep reattempting to break through this resistance. If we can get through this one, obviously the next one's going to be a little bit stronger because it's from a longer time frame, as well as the 50 simple moving average is sort of converging with it. So that's going to act as a much stronger resistance than this one here. So if we do get up to this one, expect it to get rejected at first. This could be during the day. It could be an intraday move, a rejection, and then a move through it. But keep that one in mind if it does come into play this upcoming week. And lastly, we have NVDA. So let's go ahead and ditch this trend line because obviously we broke through it, didn't offer much in the way of support. So let's remove that guy. You can see though we did get our baby gap fill just about here between the high of this candle and the low of this one. We got the baby gap fill reversal. So surprising? No, not really. But what's interesting about this one is that the buying rather is smaller than the selling on both days, and the volume is also just smaller. So that's interesting on NVIDIA. Unlike the others, the buying doesn't seem to be as aggressive as the selling. Selling is more aggressive. So Monday, I wouldn't be surprised if we do come back down and continue in the downwards direction. Our gap fill reversal continues, and we come back down to 133.31, and anything after that, again, is just really going to come back down to history. We got to scrunch up the chart quite a ways, and I don't really feel comfortable calling out a support based on some of these prior lows, just because of how far back in the history they are. But if someone was holding a gun to my head, I would say there's something here just about, and I would say there's something definitely here. So those are sort of the two general areas that I would say could come into play next on the chart, those being 126.70 just about, and these are rough numbers, and then 113.10. So if we do see a continued downtrend, look for those to offer support. If we do see some sort of uptrend start to build, we could potentially, this is all theoretical, potentially put in a new low here. If we get a move up this upcoming week and a continued move up, that would be a higher low than this, and we could be setting up for a reversal. But again, look what happened here. We had our low here, attempted to put in a higher low, and then we had the massive gap down. So anything could really happen on this one. It's sort of sitting right in the middle here of no man's land, so I would say watch out and react to this one appropriately instead of trying to anticipate and getting caught in a world of hurt. Alrighty, one final thing I'll leave you with before I say my goodbyes is the VIX. If you look at the VIX, which measures market volatility, you can see compared to the sell-off back in February, we are not even close to as volatile as we were there. You can see our high over here was up in the 50s, 50.31 I think that read, and our high here from the initial sell-off was at 28.62, and the highs have been progressively getting lower. So the fear, there's not quite as much fear in the market right now as there was back in February, and that's just something you can pay attention to. So use it and take that for what you will. But if you've made it this far in the video, I would like to thank you. Obviously, you have an interest in the stock market and trading in general, so I'd encourage you to head on over to the channel, hit the subscribe button, like a couple of videos, check out some of the other videos, and if you think I missed anything in my analysis, feel free to let me know down in the comments or send me an email. And of course, if you'd like to see anything added to the watch list, I'd be happy to go over it in the next video. Just shoot me a comment or an email and I'll certainly add it to the list. And with that, I hope you a green trading week in the week ahead.